Okay, so this week I had another Tesla Ranger episode. He came Thursday, so today's Friday. That was 2 days ago. Mainly because I had gotten a warning message that the 12-volt battery needed to be serviced and replaced. So first of all, I thought, I have no idea if that meant the battery was about to die or it's just, giving some fault. According to the service center, they said, nah, they usually don't die until up to 3 weeks after you get one of those messages. So I didn't know how urgent it was. And my battery is only about a year and a half old, so that's kind of weird. But the Ranger out here, he said that he had kind of gotten a wave of battery replacements out here in Michigan, which is kind of weird. Who knows? Maybe there was kind of a bad batch of batteries. They are different than normal. They're lead acid batteries, but they're called AGM. I can't remember what that stands for now, but I guess the difference is the acid is sort of impregnated in some sort of layer instead of just kind of sloshing around, which is different than conventional lead acid batteries. All I know was what I read on Wikipedia, and even that, most of that I forgot, so I don't have any errors anymore. So in terms of vehicle maintenance, everything is caught up, and the next event that I anticipate is just receiving software 8.1, which will have a few extra features. We'll see. Right now, I'm on my way to Costco. We're having a Christmas dinner at our house tonight with a group of people, and so a little busy getting stuff ready. Kind of nice to get out and drive the Tesla. We went to the gym earlier this morning, and but the car seat and some other stuff was in the Acadia, so we took that vehicle. So I haven't done a Tesla ride today yet. And tomorrow I might try to go do a Tesla ride as well, because we're supposed to get, I think it's 1 or 2 inches of snow, which is great. We got a little bit earlier this year, but it didn't hang around. It was, just kind of came down and then melted. So might go drive around in it just for the fun of it. Ooh, that's close. It would be nice if this did this a little bit faster, so I wouldn't have to block traffic while I'm going in, but whatevs. It's not that busy, I guess. Recently, I've been trying to figure out if using autopilot has changed my driving habits, particularly because with the latest release, with the more stringent alert system to keep your hands on the steering wheel and stuff, that sort of makes it much, it sort of takes it down a notch in terms of I guess I'd say autonomy, because before, whether for better or for worse, you could keep your hands off the steering wheel and basically the car would do its own thing for miles and miles and miles. But now that you get 3 strikes and then You have to park before autopilot will reactivate itself if you don't keep your hands on all the time. It makes it it feels a little bit more like the driver is actually driving and the car is just assisting. Anyway, all that to say, I've noticed that I use autopilot a little bit differently since then. One example is I pretty much always leave my hand on the steering wheel now. Partly just because as you use autopilot more and more, you learn its limitations, and you never know when it's going to encounter one of those limitations. So it's just sort of a safety thing, but also because of the more aggressive warnings. So that's one change. But the other thing is that I've noticed is that when I'm driving in situations of traffic, stop and go traffic or slower speed traffic, situations where if I'm not paying attention, I could easily engage a minor rear end impact or something like that. Situations where if I'm not paying too much attention or I get distracted or something and I could end up, rear-ending somebody or something like that, I find that I'm actually much more comfortable when autopilot is on, just because I know, I can get distracted or just kind of lost in thought, and it's, that doesn't have as much as an impact if the coast is clear and all you're doing is staying within the lines. But if you're constantly evaluating distance and rate of speed of cars ahead of you, it takes a lot of mental power. So I find those are situations that I almost always turn autopilot on, just because I actually feel more comfortable with it doing it, and I don't want to have to bother with constantly, being, I don't want to say being that alert, but it's actually kind of true, because the car can do that by itself very easily, and I can easily, miss one calculation or something like that, or not do it in time, and then, boom, you have to have your bumper replaced, which is not the biggest deal in the world. It's not like an issue of injury or anything like that, but it's still an avoidable consequence. So that's one way that I've found that autopilot has sort of become an extension of my driving habits. It's not just a novelty. It's not just like, ooh, wow, the car's steering itself. And because in some situations, autopilot is actually kind of useless, because you have to babysit the car so much and you have to have so much oversight to make sure it doesn't mess up, that it's actually less stressful to just drive yourself. But in the situations I'm talking about, it's actually a lot less stressful for the car to drive itself, which is really interesting because cars have never been to that point up until now. I guess you could argue once adaptive cruise control came out, that would be one thing, but you still have to be steering and stuff for that, so it's not quite the same level. But I was just in a little bit of congestion back there, and just reminded me of that fact, because as soon as it starts getting stop and go and just like, let me just put autopilot on, let the car do its thing. Costco trip was a success, although based on the stuff that I got, it looks more like I went to a hardware store than a grocery store. So it's getting colder. So for this trip, since last charge, that includes yesterday. Well, on the way home I averaged 339 watt hours per mile, and that's actually not bad, but it's probably higher than normal because of this. Because it's cold out. How cold is it? 37 degrees, which is, 2 or 3 degrees Celsius? Something like that. Anyway, I don't have full regen because the battery is cold. And that has a huge impact, particularly on city and suburban streets and stuff, because you do a lot of braking, which is a huge potential regain in energy, but if you don't have full regen capacity, you end up using your friction brakes instead. So